Welcome to Tell Me Another, Dead Air, a cross-channel horror audio series. This is the first episode in that series. All episodes are out now, so be sure to go through and listen to them all. Links are in the video's notes. This is episode 1, The Bells of St. Hollow Parish. Well now, this place has more spiders than floorboards. Ain't that charming? No reception, no power lines, and a front porch held together by... what is that? Duct tape and bad intentions? Yep, this is exactly where horror narrators should vacation.
Phoenix! Didn't think the end of the world had parking.
Look who made it. Thought your GPS would give up before you did, Vita. And welcome to 242.
Oh, it did. We followed a raccoon the last mile. Looked like it knew what it was doing.
Tell me this place has running water, or at least a door that closes.
Hello, 242. Only if you define it closes as leans against a wall and hopes for the best.
Fantastic. Comfortable getaway, he said. Let's meet other narrators in a haunted shack, he said.
It builds character.
Okay, this place is either going to inspire me or kill me. There's no in between.
Well, we did say authentic horror retreat. Didn't say it was OSHA compliant.
Woo! Smells like moss, mildew, and potential death. We're officially on brand, folks.
Did I pack a sleeping bag or a body bag? I honestly can't remember now.
Mate, this is wild. It feels like we've just stepped into a creepy pasta. I give it 5 stars for ambience. -2 for probable tetanus.
We'll call it rustic essential dread. It's trending.
Gemini, Jimmy Horrors, and Ponch Monster. Y'all come together.
Picked these two up from the airport last night.
Yeah, somehow we ended up at a horror bar. Had to spend the night.
Glad we still made it on time.
Sorry, not sorry. We had fun, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad y'all are here safe and sound. Now, let's go. Okay, first one in doesn't die first. That's the rule, right?
Pretty sure it's the last one in who's toast. That's basic horror physics.
Don't forget, split up immediately, investigate mysterious noises alone. It's tradition.
Ooh, and someone's got to say, I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
So, we're really doing this. 7 horror narrators, 1 very creepy cabin, 0 cell service.
And 1 or many bottles of whiskey that may or may not be haunted. We'll find out.
I can't believe we're all here. Like, in person. I've listened to your voices for years, and now they've got faces.
Speak for yourself. I still pictured Jimmy as a shadowy figure behind a foggy mirror.
That was my webcam.
Okay, we should divvy up the rooms before it gets dark. I'm not wandering these halls with just a flashlight and blind optimism.
Agreed. Let's get set up. Then we can all gather around the fire and tell each other bedtime stories.
And by bedtime stories, you mean psychological trauma disguised as entertainment.
Obviously, we're professionals.
Hey, this room's only slightly bloodstained. I called dibs.
Does it have curtains?
Half a curtain. Technically, more of a fabric suggestion.
I just found a taxidermy squirrel with a monocle. This place is full of culture.
Good. The squirrel can moderate tonight's story circle.
I tried the generator. It's either possessed or very, very tired.
Let it rest. We got firewood, candles, and at least 3 portable speakers between us. We'll survive.
As long as no one makes me eat instant noodles again.
What? That was gourmet horror camp cuisine.
All right, circle up. If we're doing this right, tonight we start the tradition.
You mean the ritual?
Depends on how good the story is.
We should set ground rules.
You mean like no real demons, no cursed objects, and no recording our descent into madness?
I mean, someone should check the attic before we start.
Nope. That's how horror movies start. Pass.
Wait, is there an attic?
Please tell me that was the squirrel.
Wind, old beams, squirrel ghost. Take your pick.
We're definitely in a story already, aren't we?
So, here's the idea. 1 story each night, 1 voice at a time, around this fire. You tell whatever you want. Urban legend, personal account, fiction, something that's been living in your head for too long.
And the rest of us?
We listen. No interrupting, no skipping your turn, and no backing out once the fire's lit.
Nice ambience.
Do we pick the order or draw straws?
Let's just start alphabetical by trauma.
I'll go first.
Naturally. Southern hospitality and all.
You invite people to your haunted cabin, you lead by example. All right then, let me take you down to St. Hollow Parish, a place where the river forgets its name and the church bells toll long after the town is gone. The bells of St. Hollow Parish. I was younger then, too young to know better, too proud to admit I didn't. That's a dangerous combination, especially down in the swamps, where the land remembers things louder than the people do. There's a bend in the bayou past Lakesburg County where the water runs real slow, like it's thinking about stopping altogether. No towns show up on the maps out there, just a tangle of green and gray, where cypress trees lean in like they're whispering secrets to the mud. Some call it dead land, Others say it's holy. Now, I've learned better than to argue either way. The old-timers back home used to talk about a place called St. Hollow Parish. It wasn't a parish in the legal sense, not one with zip codes and elected officials. This was something older, a town named for a saint no one's ever heard of, and built by hands long gone cold. I first heard about it from a man at the bait shop off Highway 9. He smelt like river rot and regret, and said he used to run fish traps near where the parish supposedly sat. Said he heard the bell ringing one evening, long after the sun dipped down, long after he should have been anywhere else. He said it weren't no ordinary bell, neither. Sounded like bone on stone, he told me, and it shook something loose in my lungs. I laughed. He didn't. Said the church still stood out there in the wet, all splintered wood and moss-choked steeple, and that every evening, just as the light dies, the bell tolls. For whom? He didn't say, just that it always has, and it always will. Now, I don't know what part of me listened. Pride? Maybe. Boredom. I'd be scratching around for ghost stories to trying to carve out a voice in the horror crowd, and here comes a man reeking of catfish and cigarettes, handing me one like a dare wrapped in folklore. So, I packed a rucksack, flashlight, compass, flask, notebook, and made for the water. The first thing struck me wasn't the silence, but the density of the sound. You ever stand in a place so full of noise it becomes its own kind of quiet? That's the bayou. Cicadas screaming in the trees, frogs croaking like a drunk choir, wind whistling through the moss, all of it layered on top of itself, till your ears can't tell you one thing from another. It don't scare you outright, not at first. It just presses in, like the swamp don't want to be remembered. I took a flat-bottomed boat upriver, following what little trail the old man described, past the weeping willows and through water thick as syrup. I passed a half-sunk mailbox, its flag still raised. A rusted-out pickup swallowed by vines. A chimney with no house beneath it. The kind of things that feel like clues if you're in the right kind of story. And then I saw it. Didn't come on gradual, neither. Just a break in the cypress, and there she was. St. Hollow Parish. What was left of it, anyway. A cluster of sagging rooftops poking out of the green. Shacks caved in from the middle like lungs drawing a final breath. Trees growing through walls. Windows like open mouths. But the church, that was different. She sat on a rise of land that barely held above the waterline. Bone white, wood gone gray with age, but still standing. Her steeple reached up through the canopy like it was trying to claw its way out of the trees. The bell tower was whole. Not pristine, no, but untouched somehow. Like the years looked at it and passed on by. I pulled the boat to shore and stepped on into the mud that sighed beneath me. Boots sinking just enough to remind me I was trespassing somewhere I maybe shouldn't. The air changed as I walked closer. Got still. Heavy. The way it does when the storms are coming. But the sky ain't caught on yet. I stood there for a long while, staring up at that bell tower. It weren't ringing. Not then. But it would. I didn't walk straight in. Didn't feel right to. There's a kind of hush that settles over a place like that. Not silence, exactly, but more like the world holding its breath. The trees stop rustling. The bugs fall quiet. Even your own heartbeat starts to feel like it's echoing. I stood at the edge of that overgrown path leading to the church steps, one hand still on the hilt of my pack, trying to convince myself it was just a building. Just a structure made of dead wood and sagging nails. But it looked at me. I swear it did. Not with eyes, not even with windows, but with a whole of itself, like it knew I was coming before I did. You gotta understand, I've spent a lot of time in places folks forget. Ghost towns, collapsed mines, those one-road counties where even the ghosts got bored and left. But St. Hollow? This place wasn't forgotten. It'd been left alone. And there's a difference. I stepped onto the first stair, and the wood let out a groan. Not like protest, more like welcome. The door hung slightly ajar, like it'd been cracked open for someone who never came. Or someone who always does. The air inside smelled like rot and candle wax. That sickly, sweet smell of old rituals gone sour. Dust floated in the shafts of light spilling through the slats. I stepped over a collapsed pew, my boots crunching on what must have been glass or teeth. The hymnals were still there, bloated and curling at the corners. The words inside, too waterlogged to read, but some pages had symbols drawn on them. Not printed, drawn. Real careful like, circles and spirals. Crosses turned the wrong way, a sigil like a gaping mouth, and scrawled beneath one, "The river takes, the river sings." I kept on toward the altar. There was something wrong about the way the light fell there. The window behind it was stained glass, cracked but still mostly whole, showing saints I didn't recognize. Their faces were blank, scrubbed clean, as if time had wiped away the memory of who they once were. But their hands, all of them were raising their hands to the bell tower. That's when I noticed church ain't built to face east like most are. It faces north, straight at the staple. Like whatever they worshipped, it weren't God. Not exactly. I walked up to the pulpit, ran my fingers along the edge. Wood felt warm. Not from the sun, from something else. Behind the altar, there was a small doorway leading to the back rooms. Sunday school, I figured, or maybe where the preacher lived once upon a time. The hallway back there was so narrow I had to angle my shoulders. Walls so close I could feel the mildew breathing on me. There were more symbols scratched into the plaster. Some carved so deep they split the wood beneath. One room still had furniture in it. A bed, a nightstand, a chair with its back broken. And sitting on the nightstand, plain as you please, was a half-melted candle and a bell. Not a handbell, not a church bell. Just a small silver one, about the size of a lemon, tarnished and delicate. I picked it up. It didn't ring, didn't even rattle. Like the clapper inside was missing, or maybe just too tired to speak. But the moment I touched it, the air shifted. The kind of shift you feel when a storm's real far off, but the pressure knows before the clouds do. I stepped back into the sanctuary, bell still in my hand, and that's when I heard it. Not the big bell. Not yet. No. This was breathing. Low, slow, rhythmic. Like someone exhaling behind the pulpit, just out of sight. I spun around. Flashlight beams sweeping the altar, the pews, the walls. Nothing. Empty. But the breathing didn't stop. It was coming from up above. The steeple. I looked toward the rafters, saw the rope hanging down into the sanctuary, tied off neatly to a hook beside the pulpit. Didn't move. Not a sway. Not a tug. But still, the breathing. I dropped the silver bell. Didn't mean to. My hand just let go, like it decided on its own. And this time it rang. Just once. High and hollow. Like glass being struck underwater. And then, silence. The breathing stopped. The whole church seemed to inhale. The light through the windows dimmed. Just a touch. Like dusk had come early. I backed out. Real slow. Step by step. Eyes never leaving the bell tower. When I hit the porch again, I didn't look back. Not then. I don't remember getting back to the boat. That part's gone. Like a skipped page in a story you thought you were writing. I must have walked backward through the swamp, eyes glazed and boots half full of mud. I do remember the silver bell echoing in my ears. That hollow ringing tone that didn't fade so much as settle, like smoke in the lungs. I camped just off the river, far enough from the church that I couldn't see it, but close enough that I could feel it watching. You ever sleep with a weight on your chest that ain't yours? That was that night. I laid there with my back to the trees and my eyes on the stars, trying not to breathe too loud, trying not to breathe too close. But I heard it anyway. Breathing. Again, soft and slow, like lungs full of swamp air, deep in the cypress. I told myself it was the wind, just the wind. And then a bell rang. One time, far off. Maybe from the stable, maybe from under the water. Couldn't tell. But I felt it more than I heard it. A vibration in the ground. A shimmer under the skin. It didn't echo. It just stayed. Next morning I should have left. Should have packed up and pedaled back to wherever reason still lived. But I didn't. I couldn't. There's a pull certain places have. Like gravity, only meaner. The kind that don't tug at your fate, but your name. And St. Hollow Parish had my name in its mouth. So I went back. Sun was high and mean, but the church stood just like the same, throwing no shadow. I stepped up to it again, and I swear it looked older than yesterday. Board more bowed, roof more collapsed, paint more peeled. But the bell tower, still perfect, still reaching up past the treetops, proud and untouched. It should have fallen. Everything else was rotten ruin, but that tower stood like it knew it was the last thing left and wasn't done totaling yet. I stepped inside. This time, it smelled like ash. Not fire, just after. Like a prayer that burnt too long and left soot behind. The pews had shifted. I couldn't swear it, but they were straighter,
West collapsed, like someone had been there overnight, like service had been held. Dust was gone from the floor. The rope hanging down from the bell tower looked fresh. Not new, just used. I followed it with my eyes, straight up to the hatch in the ceiling where the stairs to the steeple must have been. It was closed. No visible handle, just old wood, breathing in rhythm with the church. I took a step forward, and that's when the choir started. Not loud at once, just a hum, deep, tuneless, thick in the throat. I froze. The sound didn't come from above, but below. The floor under the pulpit. I stepped back, eyes on the boards. They were pulsing. I don't mean figurative. I mean moving, slow and rhythmic, like a thing breathing shallow beneath the floorboards, like the church itself had a heartbeat. Then came the second sound, a whisper all around me. Not words, not even a voice I could place, just intent. Not get out, not help me, just one long, low note of remember. I turned to leave, heart rattling like a snake in a sack, and that's when I saw the congregation. I swear to God, they weren't there when I walked in. But now, sitting in those crooked pews, still as statue, shadowed in the light spilling through the broken windows, were 7 shapes, faceless, still. Every one of them turned toward the altar, turned the bell rope, toward me. I didn't speak, didn't breathe, just backed out one step at a time. And as I crossed the threshold, the bell rang again. But this time, it didn't stop. I didn't make it far, not like I thought I would. I barely reached the edge of the clearing, the swamp yawning open in front of me, when the bell rang again. A long, slow toll that didn't echo so much as settle, like dusk itself was leaning in to listen. And the path behind me, it was gone. Just trees now. No church, no steeple, no clearing, no sound. Even the frog gone silent. It was like the world blinked, and when it opened its eyes again, it forgot the difference between before and after. I turned in a slow circle, mouth dry, trying to orient myself. But the river, the trail, even my boat, all of it had vanished, and the only thing still certain in the thick, wet air was that damn bell tolling every few seconds, deep and wrong. Not metal, not brass, not anything human. I ran. Branches clawed at my face, my pack, my arms. Water sloshed around my boots, sucked at my legs like the swamp wanted me still. The trees blurred past, and worse, they repeated. I'd passed the same sagging stump, the same cypress with the hook-shaped limb over and over again, like the land was caught in a loop, or like I was. Eventually, breath burning, heart beating sideways, I broke back into the clearing. The church was waiting for me. No congregation now, no shapes in the pews, just the door swinging slightly in the wind I couldn't feel. The bell tolled again. I couldn't run. Not anymore. Not because I was tired. I was. But because the story was writing itself now, and I wasn't holding the pen. So I walked inside. Same rot, same altar, same smell of ash and something wet behind it. But now, a lot was different. Thick and gold and slow, like it was seeping in through honey. Dusk had come and didn't seem in no hurry to leave. I stepped down the aisle, past pews that felt warm, like folks had just stood up, like they just now left for the graveyard behind the church. And there, in the center of the pulpit, lay the silver bell I'd dropped the day before. Still, waiting. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to, because high above me, up in the tower, where no one had climbed in decades, I heard it again. Footsteps, deliberate, measured, like someone walking a tight circle round that bell. Then the rope moved, just a twitch at first, then another, like a hand had found it, and then it pulled. The bell tolled again, but this time, I saw it. The rope went taut, the air changed, the steeple above me groaned, and the bell rang. Slow and deep, not a note, a voice. It filled the space like water, pushing against the walls, pressing into my chest, into my teeth, into my bones. It weren't just sound, it was a memory, a summoning. The pews creaked. I turned. They were back. The congregation. More of them this time. Dozens. All faceless, all still, all breathing in time with the bell. And now they turned their heads toward me. Not fast, not sudden, just inevitable. My step back, hit the altar. The bell tolled again, and they sang. Not with words, not with mouth, just a low, droning hum that vibrated in my ribs, deep as the river, cold as stone. And in that moment, I knew they weren't trapped. They weren't ghosts. They were the choir. The bell wasn't calling them. It was calling me. They were humming, all of them, still as stone, faceless and unmoving. But their song was in the walls now. A low, steady drone that warped around the bell's toll like a noose around the throat. I could feel it rising in my stomach, in my teeth, behind my eyes. A pressure like the sand was trying to squeeze its way into me. The air had gone syrup thick. My boots stuck to the floor. Each step feeling heavier than the last, like the church was deciding whether to let me go. I staggered back from the altar, and then they moved, all at once. Not fast, not jerky like ghosts in stories, but slow, deliberate. Their heads turned in unison, like sunflowers finding the light, only their faces weren't faces at all, just smooth, soft skin where features ought to be, as if the swamp worn them down over time, or they'd given them up. One by one they stood, their arms hung limp, their robes sagged like wet sheets, and they began to walk, not toward me, not toward the altar, but toward the rope, the bell rope. The lead figure, taller than the rest, swaying like a tree too long in the wind, reached up with both hands and wrapped its fingers round the rope. It pulled. The bell tolled. And the sound. God help me. The sound split the church in half. Not wood, not stone. Not time or space. But me. It was like hearing your own eulogy. Like remembering a death you hadn't died yet. Every toe dropped the air 10 degrees colder. I could see my breath fog up in front of me, even though outside, I knew the sun was still shining. Another figure pulled the rope. Another toll. The rest of the congregation stood in rows now, side by side, humming louder, swaying back and forth like a tide building up just before it crests. And then, they turned, every single one of them, to me. Their heads tilted just slightly, their hands lifted, not in threat, not in prayer, in recognition, like I was late to my own service. The bell tolled again, and I dropped to my knees. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was surrender, like I'd fought long enough, like part of me had been here all along, waiting for the rest to show up. The walls of the church pulsed with the song, not melody, not harmony, just raw sound, like the first note the earth ever made, echoing through stone and blood. And over it all, I heard a voice, not in my ears, in my bones. They came to remember. You came to return. The light dimmed. The choir stepped closer. I didn't run. I couldn't. Didn't want to. Because I was humming to now. Didn't know when I'd started. Didn't know the note. But it was already inside me. One of the faceless figures stepped forward. Stopped a foot from me. Raised a hand. And laid it gently on my shoulder. Cold. Heavy. Familiar. You remember now, it said. You always do. And in that moment, I saw it all. The first stone laid for the church. The fire that didn't burn the staple. The congregation kneeling beneath the blood-red moon. The bell forged from bone. The hymns written in languages no throat was meant to speak. And me, at the center, every time. A child, a preacher, a ghost, a note. Over and over, like a wheel that wouldn't break. You always came back. I came to with mud in my mouth and water in my ears. The sun was rising through the trees, bright and slow, the way it always does after a storm you don't remember sleeping through. I was lying just off the bank of the river. My boat was still there, tied up to a cypress root, like I'd never left it. My rucksack was gone, my flashlight too. But my boots were on, my clothes were dry, and there was a single bell-shaped bruise on my chest, right where a heartbeat should be. I didn't ask how. I didn't scream. I just sat up slow, bones stiff, like I'd slept for 100 years, and listened. No choir, no humming, no breathing behind the trees. Just frogs, insects, weighing through moss. The world, pretending like nothing had happened. And maybe it hadn't. Maybe I dreamed it all. Fevered up a story to scare myself. Passed out from heat and hunger. and conjure ghosts from swamp rot and folk tales. Maybe. But as I sat there, watching the sun burn the fog off the water, I heard it. Far off, low, soft. One bell, rung at dawn. Just once. I didn't run, didn't paddle away screaming. I just nodded, like an answer, like an apology. I stayed another night at the motel off the highway. Didn't talk to the desk clerk. Didn't sleep. Just watched the dusk settle through the blind like it was checking in on me. And sure enough, right as the last sliver of light slit behind the trees, I heard it again. Toll. Clearer now. Closer. I ain't been back to St. Hollow Parish. Not since. But I hear the bell every night now. Every dusk. Same note. Same rhythm. Not loud. Not angry. Just waiting. Like it knows I remember. And one day, maybe I'll go back. Maybe I never left. That's my story, y'all. Don't reckon you'll find St. Hollow on any map. But if you're ever out past Larkspur County and the water starts to feel thicker and the light starts to change faster than it ought to, you just keep your eyes down, keep paddling, and if you hear a bell at dusk, you don't stop, you don't turn around, you don't listen. Tell Me Another Dead Air is a production of Dissonance Media. The metascript and story, The Bells of St. Hollow Parish, was written by Jimmy Horrors, aka James Barnett. This series includes the vocal talents of Vedith, Ranger Harper from Morbid Forest, Ponch Monster, Gemini Reed, Jimmy Horrors, 242, and me. Find the link to the next episode in the video's notes.